Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor, listen, they have changed the game on how football and sports are being covered. Yes, they are all former NFL stars, but it's how they're talking about pivoting in life that has everyone talking and joining their conversation. The three have teamed up for one of the hottest podcasts out there. It's called The Pivot. And in its first year, they've pulled in over 69 million views on YouTube alone. And the New York Post declared that they're at the forefront of media's ever-evolving evolution because of this in-depth way that they interview people. They have celebrities, they've got athletes. I actually was even on the show. Take a look.
Welcome to The Pivot, man. We all had to pivot.
The name we came up with, The Pivot, that's something that we all got to do in life.
Instead of focusing solely on wins and losses on the field, the Pivot Trio focus on the wins and losses in life that we all experience.
I was just being greedy. I had the perfect situation. Wife was finer than a mug. Kept giving me babies, still finer than a mug. I had it all. I know I messed up.
Ryan Clark was a Super Bowl winning safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers and described as a physical player who could deliver a game-changing hit. On The Pivot, it's his deeply researched and thoughtful questions that elicit powerful and game-changing responses.
Everybody except for my kids stole from me.
Former linebacker Channing Crowder played his entire career for the Miami Dolphins, known as much for his hard hits, as well as his headline-making frankness. And that shines through in The Pivot, just as it did in October when we were all in tears, as he shared helping his wife, Asia, find her birth father after years of searching.
And she has her phone to her ear, and she points, she's like, "It's my dad." And and she starts crying. I start crying.
And Fred Taylor, a former Jaguars running back, is one of the top 20 leading rushers in NFL history. Known for his heart and patience on the field, it's also what he brings to The Pivot.
You know, if you're here, you got to come up here and match my energy.
Together, the stories they share and get their guests to share are impactful.
I know what it feels like to be the underdog. And we have to remind people in our pettiness, sometimes the underdogs win. Tam fam, let's give it up for the host of The Pivot, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, and Ryan Clark. Come on out, guys!
Don't get him going.
Oh my gosh! See, I have to give you all grief because when I went to their show, they didn't even give me water. I gave you Tam fam. Wow,
Thank you.
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We actually, though, I expected you to do more, right? That's why we had you on our show, because we're trying to come up and get to this point.
No, you're doing great.
RC, check out them things behind us.
Oh, these are Emmys. They're just the Emmys behind me. Thank you, thank you. There's so much to talk about, but one of the first things I got to ask you about Damar. I mean, Sunday, I said I still have goosebumps from seeing what people didn't think was possible, which is for him to emerge and be at that game.
Yeah, I actually, I wasn't optimistic. I'll be honest. I had said over and over again that I didn't think he was going to make it. To have someone be resuscitated on the field, and you saw the reaction of the players, that's not something you're used to. So for him to get to this point and so quickly, it's truly an inspiration, and you can see how he's inspired his teammates, but also everybody in the country.
The world. I know that just days after he was hospitalized, y'all sat down with his childhood friend, former college teammate, Jordan Whitehead. And now, because we're a live show, people saw him there. And the next question is, does he play again?
Right.
Because you're very thoughtful in your conversations, how do you balance the reality of health and family with the fact that people are asking, will he come back? Should he come back?
Well, it all depends on how he feels at this point. I think if the doctors, if they release him to say he's good enough to go, then I'm pretty sure he's going to go. He absolutely loves the game of football.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's a million other ways that things can happen to us in this life. But, you know, if you're going to do something, going to go out, do it doing something you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just my
Yeah.
program.
I mean, you all excelled at something you love, and the conversation about football is very different than when you all started. We're talking about it in ways of it might be something you love, but is it a good thing anymore? You have children. You were watching, I believe, with your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had already run some plays with your son. And there's always this question of football players saying they wouldn't let their own kids play the game that they love. Where do you stand on it, Channing?
We were out in the yard, and he's starting his first tackle football season this fall. So
That's your beautiful family.
That's my baby.
Yeah, your baby. And so he's playing tackle. So this isn't flag. This is tackle.
Yes,
How old is he?
He's 11.
11.
And I told him he has to get to double digits when he was 6, and then he gets to 10, and I'm like, oh, Lord, he's 10 now. So I pushed it to 11. I'm trying to push it to 12, but we're out in the yard doing drills. I'm working with him. You know, I've trained for years. And, you know, have a good time, go eat dinner, and we sit down, and it was early in the game, and now I'm explaining to an 11-year-old after this hit, and he passes out, he sees grown men crying, and now I'm trying to explain to an 11-year-old what just happened and what football can really do to you more than just, you know, he knows about my knee injuries and things, but it's bigger. And one thing that Pat Surtain once told me, because his son now is in the league, and he played in the league, both of them Pro Bowlers, and he said, I asked him, like, how did you let your son go play when you know how violent this game is? He said, if God gave him the gift of football, how can I stop him from taking advantage of that gift? And my whole life, when he was a baby, and then my younger son, Chaz, I always said, they're not playing football. Yeah. And then after I talked to Pastor Surtain about that, I said, you know what? If my son has the gift to play ball, I'm letting him play ball because it's not easy to get to that level.
No.
And even with Damar, it's not easy to get where he is, and you're there, you made it. I'm not going to let an injury, is what my mind will go, an injury, take this away from me.
What's so great about what you all represent with the Pivot Podcast is about it can be your destiny in one life, but we all have to pivot in some point. Pivot out of a bad relationship, pivot out of a bad job, pivot out into something else. After the pandemic, look how many people pivoted into their dream careers because they were just, you know, going through the motion. But something else you do, Ryan, and you were trending because there was a great debate over folks who wanted the game to go on, who said this is football and the show must go on. I want to play what you said right after Damar's injury that got so much attention. Let's play it.
We should remember that these men are putting their lives on the line to live their dream. And tonight, Damar Hamlin's dream became a nightmare for not only himself, but his family and his entire team.
You returned sensibility to the conversation when people were talking about, let the game, what time's the game going to restart? That's because it was personal. You yourself, during a game in your career, you had to sit out an entire season. After the game, the altitude, it was in Denver, right? Your sickle cell trait and the altitude, you lost your spleen?
Yeah, I don't have a spleen. Shut up, Channing. I don't have a spleen.
But you have a heart, which is Channing doesn't have some days. Go ahead.
I don't have a spleen. My gallbladder, a piece of my liver, and it was personal with Damar because I understand it, and even listening to Fred talking about him coming back to play. I remember the first day I was cleared to work out, and the doctor said they didn't know if I'd ever be able to play again, but this was also after saying they didn't know if I would live. And so when you're told the second time that you might not play, you're like, well, it's better than dying. And I remember the first day I went to work out, I was 170 pounds. I was 205 when I got injured. I was 160 pounds when I got the surgery a month later. Wow. And I was 170 pounds, and I couldn't do one pull-up. And it was just myself, my strength trainer, Garrett Guimont, at the time. And at that time, I didn't think I would play. Yeah. But you start remembering all the people that came to see you, everyone that supported you, and you know that if they believed in you, then you can go out and at least give that sort of effort. But that night, I wanted people to understand that when you take off the helmet, when you take off the jerseys, those logos don't save your life. Yeah. Right? Those pads don't save your life.
It's true. It's true. Which, before we go to break, I have to say, Fred, you're about to celebrate a birthday Friday.
Yeah.
You'll be
47.
47, 100. 47. So I had Terrell Owens on the show. T.O. gave me the exclusive interview. Sorry, you guys lost out. I got the exclusive where he wants to return. He would be the oldest player in the NFL. What is it about? Y'all can't, well, y'all said we're going to pivot to
Yes,
something
ma'am.
else. Is he too old? Is Brady too old?
Tom still has it.
Really?
Tom still has a lot. You know, T.O. is so passionate and he works so hard. He's always been that way. T.O. can still play. You know, I don't
Should
think...
you play at 48?
T.O. can play,
if your
play
heart's-
where?
Play where?
Here we go. Look, T.O. can still play. The NFL is a different monster,
Yeah.
but T.O. He can still play now. I think for NFL standards, it'll be a little challenging for him. But if his heart is in it...
You're so political.
No,
Why don't you just run for office?
I'm serious. I've seen the man grind. I've seen him out there. We've seen guys, Dallas probably could have used him. You should have made a call.
I'm over this thing.